Now, Syrian security forces have opened fire on protesters attending a funeral in Damascus. Opposition leaders say that at least one person has been killed and 4 injured. Syrian rebels are getting more of the images out that they want broadcast around the world. Here, a massive crowd claimed at 30,000 in a Damascus suburb, Al-Mirza. They were there to bury 3 young men shot dead in protests yesterday. Shouting in defiance of President Assad, they made their way through an area just a couple of miles from the man himself. The coffins of the dead carried through a sea of mourners chanting, "Whether you like it or not, we are going to have our freedom." Then panic as gunfire rings out. The opposition claims Syrian security forces opened fire. The activist footage shows people running for cover down alleyways and huddling in groups. They say 1 person was killed and at least 4 injured. Striking new footage has also emerged, apparently from soldiers who have defected, showing how government forces fire on opposition in Homs. We don't know when they were taken or how they were smuggled out, but they are some of the first images of President Assad's forces close up in Homs. They may have come from defectors or from soldiers leaking images of what they are being ordered to do. Today in Homs, the bombardment has continued and, according to opposition sources, has reached a new level of intensity. Many expect Syrian forces to try to enter the city soon, perhaps even tonight. In Damascus, the Chinese deputy foreign minister arrived and was shown on state television meeting President Assad. Zhai Jun appealed for both sides to end the 11 months of fighting, but China is Syria's ally and is backing a government plan for elections. Well, just before we came on air, I spoke to our Foreign Affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman, who is inside northern Syria, and I asked him what he'd witnessed today.
Well, this evening I went out on patrol with the so-called Free Syrian Army, which was a group of young men armed with rather rusty Kalashnikovs, farmers by day, gunmen by night, and they were out on patrol in their village. And what was interesting about them, I thought, was not that they had any strategy or any intention of attacking the Syrian army. It was much more of a defensive force which has been operating in this particular village for the last month, trying to keep the army out rather than to go all out and to attack government forces.
We've seen images today, Jonathan, that have come from Syrian soldiers who have apparently defected and are handing over their mobile phone videos of when they were fighting for President Assad. I mean, how conscious are all the Free Syrian Army about this media war and the importance of getting these images out?
Every home I've been into, Chris, in northern Syria in the last week has the television on pretty much all day. And all day they are watching television images from Al Jazeera and from many other stations of funerals, of demonstrations, of atrocities committed by government forces. And there is an amazing viral effect that all these videos have, because they sustain this uprising. The more people who see them, the more people say we cannot go on with the regime and the way things are. There certainly have been a large number of army defections, but I think nothing like as many as enough to challenge the regime on the ground. I think what is certainly true is that this uprising is going to be impossible to quell by force, in the sense that our hearts and minds have been well and truly lost. But that doesn't mean that the so-called Free Syrian Army has the power to topple the regime. Nothing like.
Jonathan Rugman, who's in northern Syria.